I think the data is painfully corrupted, actually. And don't take it from me. Take it from 81-year-old Lacey Hunt, my mentor. He and I have had multiple discussions. He's been in the business since the 60s. He's been watching these data since the 60s. He's a big fan of the statistical agencies, by the way, and has always been close to the statisticians and respected the work. But he's never seen anything like this. He's never seen that for the last 12 months, 37% of all jobs created are due to an imputation called the birth-death model. 37% of your headline non-farm payrolls. That's a huge number. Within the backdrop, Chapter 11 filings across small, medium, and large companies more than double year over year. How can you say, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that 37% of the jobs created in the last 12 months have been due to new business formation when your bankruptcy cycle is the worst since 2009?
Welcome to today's video, where we have the privilege of hosting renowned economist Danielle DiMartino Booth. In this eye-opening discussion, Danielle uncovers the truth behind the shadow inventory in the Airbnb market, highlighting the challenges faced by owners as rental rates plummet. She sheds light on the growing impact of rising joblessness and its effect on property sales. Additionally, Danielle exposes the discrepancies between official labor market statistics and alternative metrics, revealing surprising insights. Brace yourself for a comprehensive analysis of the economy, property taxes, small business struggles, and the alarming corruption of unemployment data. Let's dive into the world of economic indicators with Danielle DiMartino Booth.
So you get 936,000 Airbnbs for rent. And that is what we call shadow inventory. If the people, most of whom own multiple homes, right? Starwood just sold, I think, 2,000 homes to invitation homes. So they're getting out of the business. But you've got this massive overhang of inventory and people relying on their cash flow year over year not being down 40% or 50%. And yet that's what we have. And in fact, if you look at the largest counties across the nation, I think there are 135 of them or so. On average, Airbnb year-over-year rental is down 29% because the supply is just a deluge. It's the exact opposite of what we're seeing in existing home inventories. But it's sitting there, they're vacant. The owners are desperately trying to turn them from short-term rentals. You can rent this vacation home for a week to 6-month or 12-month leases, trying to lock money in, but you don't get the same cash flow generated there. It's disinflationary. And that's why the report that accompanied those two charts that came out earlier this week was so explosive, because the title said Airbnb owners are about to sell. Now that inventory will hit alongside rising joblessness. So natural homeowners, death, divorce, taxes, property taxes are going through the roof. Floridians are choking on property insurance premiums that have gone just skyrocketed, and trying to pay these property taxes. 65% of people who bought a home in 2022 and 2023 have reported that they cannot afford their mortgage payments. Forget carrying the cost of the house. God forbid your air conditioner, your furnace goes out. But this is just carrying the simple payment because they bought at such high price points.
Got it. So tell us about the labor market. The unemployment rate officially now stands at 3.7%, nowhere near traditionally a recession level, although actually recessions start when unemployment is much lower than I had thought. And initial claims is at 239,000, which is where it was in 2018, 2019. So the official data does not point to stress in the labor market, but you are tracking a lot of non-mainstream metrics that paint a very, very different story. Tell us about those.
Well, remember, initial claimants, especially in a week that contains a holiday, which Juneteenth was. So you've got your distortions there. What we track at Quill is not seasonally adjusted continuing claims. These are the number of individuals who have applied for jobless benefits. Those are your initial claimants and been approved. So they're the ones who are collecting unemployment. And right now, and in April, and in May, and in June, economists call 1 month a potential aberration, 3 months is a trend. And this is impossible to see on the screen, I understand, but that green line across the top shows you that for 3 months in a row, 90% of the US population has been living in a state with rising continuing claimants. There are only 3 states, Hawaii, Kansas, and Oklahoma, that you see on the bottom of the screen. You see those red numbers go all the way across the bottom of the screen. Red is good. Red means year over year, continuing claims are down. That's what you want to be. That's where you want to live, where the job market is the tightest. But Hawaii is about to flip. That is a huge bellwether. It's the most resistant state in the nation to joblessness because it's such a travel mecca. And it's not a travel mecca in some season. You can always go to Maui. But Hawaii is about to flip, leaving us with just Kansas and Oklahoma. I'm going to put a call in. Tom Honig, a good friend of mine, was kind enough to introduce me to Esther George. Once she's out of the Kansas City Fed, I'm going to call her up and say, what's going on? What's in the water? That those 2 particular states are so resilient, and we haven't seen continuing claims flip into the positive as we have seen for most of the rest of the nation. And that's what people need to focus on. When you've got continuing claims rising in your state, that means you know somebody, or you know somebody who knows somebody who's lost their job.
And they didn't get a new job. More importantly, that's what that shows.
That's right. That they're continuing claimants. They collect unemployment benefits week in and week out.
So what would you say to someone who says, Danielle, look, I love your work. You follow this stuff, but facts are facts. And the unemployment rate is 3.7%. How can you say the labor market is as dire as you say when workers themselves are saying the labor market remains tight? Some companies themselves are saying the labor market remains tight. The Fed is saying the labor market remains tight. And the unemployment rate, as lagging as it is at 3.7%. So I particularly want you to kind of attack and hold nothing back about the BLS data. You've been critiquing it, but make this the official time that you really critique the BLS and you think the data is wrong and why it's wrong.
I think the data is painfully corrupted, actually. And don't take it from me. Take it from 81-year-old Lacey Hunt, my mentor. He and I have had multiple discussions. He's been in the business since the 60s. He's been watching these data since the 60s. He's a big fan of the statistical agencies, by the way, and has always been close to the statisticians and respected the work. But he's never seen anything like this. He's never seen that for the last 12 months, 37% of all jobs created are due to an imputation called the birth-death model. 37% of your headline non-farm payrolls. That's a huge number. Within the backdrop, Chapter 11 filings across small, medium, and large companies more than double year over year. How can you say, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that 37% of the jobs created in the last 12 months have been due to new business formation when your bankruptcy cycle is the worst since 2009? It's specious data that will be revised away. And in addition to that, you're not picking up on what I follow at dailyjobcuts.com. And that is small businesses. The CFO survey came out yesterday. It's a combination between Duke University and the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. And you've got CFOs in the country saying that by 2024, they're going to be drastically reducing headcount. And they also reported that 40% of small business CFOs cannot access financing. So we're seeing these small businesses go away one after another after another. But if you hang your own shingle, you're not going to go file a jobless claim against yourself. It doesn't make any sense. But will you show up in the data? Nope, you won't. So there are signs that there are certain aspects of the economy that will be picked up in revisions, but that are not being reflected today. And the best characterization was from a buddy of mine, Peter Scheer, who said, I understand that the massive pool of economists that Bloomberg queries once a month, I get that they can all be wrong for a month here and a month there. But he asked the question rhetorically, what are the odds that for 14 months in a row, they're all wrong, that none of their models work? that the BLS's models have some special sauce in them that the street doesn't have access to. The forecasts have all been wrong for 14 months in a row. Speaking of statisticians, that's statistically impossible.